Sam, how we doing?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Awesome, man. So this is episode 2 of the podcast. Sam and I actually met in chiropractic college in clinic. We're just doing a little transition and yeah, we just crossed paths and I was like, all right, here's a genuine dude.
Thanks.
And I see him on his phone and I see stocks up and I'm like, all right, this guy's already different, like
Appreciate
he's
that.
clearly working on like other things and I don't know. To me, like that's really interesting is like when you see someone who's in a graduate program, but they're still doing other things. So, Sam, if you just want to do a little introduction of yourself and where you're from and how you got into trading in the first place and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So my name is Sam Hassan. I grew up in Portland, Oregon. I'm used to the rain and the cold weather. It's like nothing to me. Um, I went to University of Oregon. I studied public relations there, and that was kind of where I got my start. So I started trading like at a young age. Right when I graduated high school, when I turned 18, I got a trading account and I started trading in Robinhood. And my passion for stocks kind of just started there. Um, I always like had a passion just for the stock market, and I always had this curiosity of what it was and what it is, and I wanted to learn like how to trade. And so from a young age, I kind of dedicated myself to learning the art of trading. Um, so yeah, I started at 18, and I just kind of just slowly built myself up from there, and it really wasn't easy when I started, and we can kind of go into that. I lost a lot of money when I first started trading because I didn't know the skills that you had to have, the psychological skills that you had to have. Um, and so that, but now, after reading this book that we're going to talk about, I really, everything is good now. So yeah, we
Awesome
can talk
stuff.
about
Yeah.
whatever you want to talk
No,
about.
I think you segued it nicely into so Sam, when I met him, I said, "Hey man, like what's a good book to get on stocks? Like if I'm interested in getting a little bit more serious about my trading, like what is a good place for me to start?" And you recommended Complete Guide to Trading Psychology by Steve Burns and Holly Burns. And I haven't read the whole book yet. I've only read a few chapters, but right away it's like a lot of it surprisingly is about like mindset
Mhm.
and not necessarily the nitty gritty details of the stock market itself. It's more about like, what's your plan? Like, how do you make minimal mistakes and things like that? And to me, it's just a fascinating read right off the bat. And I don't know if you want to like kind of get more into like, if someone is a beginner trader, let's say someone like myself, right? I have investments in the stock market. I've diversified my stuff into some ETFs, some of the long-term plays, but
Yeah.
I want to get a little bit more risky. I want to
Yeah.
I want to take some risks at my young 26-year-old age and, maybe make some more lucrative trades and income without, minimizing the risk as well.
Right. So yeah, so what I tell people when they ask me is I tell them you have to determine what type of investor you want to be. Do you want to be a casual passive investor or do you want to be more aggressive type of investor? So, there are different types of stocks for different types of people that. So what I tell people that are young, like, you and me, is that you need to be in stocks that are small cap, that are large, that have high growth potential. You don't want to necessarily be and just in companies like Apple and Tesla and Amazon because you're not going to get a large return with those type of stocks, right? So you need to look for companies that are cheap but that also solve critical problems in the world. So companies like in healthcare, in biotech, in clean energy, in solar, in hydrogen. So things like that are actually solving like critical world problems. Those are the companies that the market is looking to pump. So you need to find those opportunities. The days of like Apple and whatever, those days are over. Our father's generation, they already pumped those stocks up to the moon. It's over. We need to be looking for those companies that are going to be the next Apple. So that's what I try and tell younger people. Now, if you're older and you're 65 and or whatever, you're 50, you're getting close to retirement, Apple and Amazon and Tesla, those are great companies to be in because your risk appetite is going to be less than somebody who's, younger, who has more time on their side. So if they make a critical error and you're 21, you got your whole life to make that money back, right? But if you're 65 and you make an error, you don't have any time to make that back, right? So that's why I tell people it's all about what type of investor you want to be. And it's all about risk management. And we can go into that whenever you want to talk about that. So,
Yeah. So just to start off, like what is a good amount of money to start out in trading? And we're talking more lucrative trading.
So it all depends on, how much money you have, like what your net worth is, and then how experienced you are or how much have you learned about trading before you're starting, right? Because if you've never traded before and you know nothing about it, I wouldn't recommend putting, $5,000 in and just starting, right? But if you've taken your time for a few months to read books and learn about, the stock market and how it works and how to trade, then I think, $5,000 would be a great, starting point. But just to give you like a number for people, I always recommend, if you're just starting out, put a few $100s in the stock market, and then every paycheck you get, put a few hundred more in. And then every month, buy the same companies that you love. Buy the companies that you've identified as your long-term winners, and do a process called dollar cost averaging with those companies. So what that simply means is every time those companies go down and you see that, say they have a red day, they're down 8 to 10%. Well, that's perfect. Now you're buying more of that. And then in a month or two later, when it goes up again, you're getting all of that upside, all that profit. So when you dollar cost average, it's a very, very effective method to grow your portfolio over a long period of time. Now, what I tell people to do is you want to have a long-term portfolio where you're dollar cost averaging, right? If you're young, but you also need to have a separate trading account where you're aggressively going after those small companies like I talked about that are solving critical problems in the world that have monstrous upside, sometimes 10, 20, 30, 40x upside. So people don't realize, like, if a stock goes from $2 to $20, you just made 10x on your investment, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you put $1,000 in a stock at $2 a share, and then 2 years later it's at $20. You just made $20,000, and you did nothing but identify a company that had potential and put $1,000 in it.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. So that's very similar to. I feel like that strategy is kind of more in the realm of like a guy like Warren Buffett. So he's really good at.
But anybody can do this.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, do you want to, right?
Totally. So a guy like Warren Buffett, he looks up companies and researches them. It sounds like that's what you do. That's your strategy, is really research companies. Mm-hmm. So can we go a little bit more into that? Like, where do you get your research on that potential company that has that 10x, 20x upside?
Yeah. So this is all from me having the experience and the years of learning about the stock market and learning about these companies. This took me years to develop like the research skills and to be able to know, okay, this is a company that could actually have this type of potential, right? So what I do is I look for companies that are smaller, like smaller market cap. So people don't understand, like they think that just share price shows you how valuable a company is. That's not true at all. It's actually the market cap. So you want to look at how the market cap of a company, because that will show you how large it is. So for example, Apple is a $2 trillion market cap. Okay. So for Apple to multiply to get you a double up on your investment, you would need it to now become a $4 trillion market cap.
Oh, wow. See, I've never even thought of that perspective of
right.
the market cap. That's really interesting.
Okay. Yeah. So for example, people like me and you that are like, 30 years old and younger, they need to be in companies that are smaller in market cap. Okay. And this is probably going to hit people in a way that they probably never thought about before. And this is really good advice. You need, if you're young, you need to be looking for companies in this smaller market cap. Now, obviously there's risk involved because they're smaller, right? But that's why you use a method called risk management, where you're not putting all of your money into just 2 or 3 of these companies. These are only a small percentage of your portfolio, maybe 1 to 2 to 3%. So if they do go down, you haven't lost much. But if they multiply like what we just talked about and go from 2 to 20, you're killing it, right?
Okay, cool. So I love that strategy. And
Okay.
so how do you determine the percentages of like what you're allocating? It sounds like you diversify your stock portfolio essentially.
Right. So for me, I'm aggressive, right? So I take risks that most people wouldn't take on certain days. So for example, like if I see a company that's moving fast and it's got heavy volume and it's the share price and the price movement is going up, and I think for the day it could be a great day trade, I might put 30-40% of my portfolio into that company. Now I don't recommend that for most people, but what I do recommend is, like we talked about, have a certain percentage of your account for companies that are high potential, high growth, right? So that's just what I recommend. And everyone's different. you know there are days where I get aggressive and I want to put my whole account into one thing, right? But that's not what you want to do. That's how you make critical errors, right? And that's how most traders blow up their account, is they get upset that they lost on 1 or 2 trades in a row, and then they get emotional and they're like, oh man, I'm down to my last $1,000. I'm gonna put it into this penny stock XYZ that's 10 cents a share, right? And then that one goes down to 5 cents a share and they lost their down to $500 and they quit, right? So but here's the thing: if you start off the correct way and you diversify within the different sectors of the stock market, so we're talking technology, clean energy, biotech, all of these different sectors, right? Crypto, you want to have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so
Go.
basically you're really good at essentially formulating that plan from the get-go, right? So you have a strategy in mind and you don't deviate away from that strategy,
No,
even if like you get a little bit emotional, which happens, right?
absolutely.
Because you could wake up one day and see like, oh shit, it's not going my way. Maybe I need to like bump this up a bit,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
I don't even know the terminology because this is not my world.
Right.
But
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a different world. But yeah, I'll let you finish your
No,
question.
and that actually made me think about this I highlighted a piece here. It says, you can't control the market. You can only control what you do in terms of your entries, exits, position sizing, and method. Practicing discipline and self-control keeps you out of the most stressful situations. The key to trading success is stacking the odds in your favor and not chasing thrills.
Exactly. So I had to learn that the hard way, and that's what I talked about when I first started with when I started trading at 18 in my Robinhood account. I was constantly chasing thrills. I would only buy stocks that were going up fast, fast, fast in the
Right? All
moment.
the ones that your friends are telling you about. And then you're
Right.
like,
Or
oh, yeah.
on the internet.
Yep.
People are talking in these chat forums like on Reddit or on StockTwits. This app called StockTwits, a lot of people go on and they pump these little penny stocks. In the moment, they're up 100% and they're flying. And you want to get in on the action because it looks like people are making money left and right. But what's the problem with that? Something that's flying up, up, up in the moment, it's due for a massive downswing when people take profit. So these inexperienced traders, they get stuck in these huge pump and dumps with these penny stocks, because only a penny stock can go up 100% in like 5 minutes like that. Apple and big large companies, they don't do that, right?
No. Yeah.
So there's extreme danger with these companies, right? But what if you do what I talked about earlier and you get in on these smaller companies early before they make these massive moves, right? Then you just made 100% and you can sell, while everybody else who's inexperienced is now chasing, and they're gonna be holding the bag, right?
Totally.
So it's like a reverse psychology. You want to be looking for the companies that are down in the red, that haven't been moving yet.
It's like finding the weakness rather than looking for that strength.
Exactly, and that's one of my tips that I give people. It's called buy the weakness, sell the strength.
Ooh.
People don't understand this. It's like a stoplight. If you see a stoplight and it's green and you're a half a mile away from it and you're driving, what's most likely going to happen once you get closer to it? It's gonna
turn red.
It's probably gonna turn red, right?
Yeah.
Because like that's what stoplights do, right? If you're half a mile away, it's already green. It's probably gonna get red. But same thing with stock market. If it's already green right now, it's gonna go red. You have to know that.
Mm.
You have to know that. If it's red, but it's a good solid company and overall it's been going up, you want to be buying. Now, if it's a garbage company, it's red, and its all-time chart has always been down and red, you don't want to be buying companies like that. The biggest mistake people make is they buy these penny stocks that their all-time charts are down 99%, but they're able to make these gigantic moves because they're only 10 cents. So if they go to 20 cents, it looks like a huge 100% swing, right? But really, it's just because they're so cheap that it's easy to manipulate. So inexperienced traders, they get stuck in these horrible stocks, like these penny stocks, and they lose all of their money. And it happened to me when I first started when I was young, and it pissed me off. But then I started learning like, okay, how do the real professionals actually trade? And then I started like reading books and doing all this homework. You know, after I would go to school, a chiropractic school, I would study all of this stuff. And it just interests me. It always interests me, man.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I that makes me think about like, so if someone is interested in trading, right? Like someone like myself who is just getting started in the day trading world or the swing trading world, what does it take on a daily basis, or does it require daily work? Like you said, research, sharpening that axe before you get involved, right? Reading books, doing all that kind of thing. When it comes to that preparation and then also like the day to day, like what does that look like
So
for a busy schedule, right?
yeah, so it all depends on like how busy you are and how active of a trader you want to be. You can check your trading app once a week and do great. And it's all based on what companies you're choosing to buy and what position sizes you're using. So to break that down for people that might not understand what I'm saying, the companies you choose is called stock selection. Those are the stocks you're selecting to buy. Now you can choose to buy high risk stocks or you can choose to buy low risk stocks like Apple, Amazon, whatever, right? Now you can set orders in your trading app to where they will sell automatically for you when they hit a certain price. And there are tutorials on YouTube where you can learn how to do this through the YouTube app the YouTube, youtube.com, YouTube app. You can learn how to do all these things. So for example, like let's say you're a really busy person, male or female, and you're in school, you don't have time to be on the trading app every day. You can buy a company at $100, whatever it is. Say you buy Tesla. People don't understand this, right? So Tesla's trading at like $180 a share right now, something like that. You can buy partial shares of companies. You don't have to buy a whole share of a company. So like Tesla's $180. You don't have to buy 180 of it to get one. You can buy like $20 of it.
And so what would be the point, right? If someone's like not necessarily like they're kind of half in, half out in the seriousness of like trading, what would be the point of me investing in companies like Tesla, Apple, companies like that versus just throwing it in the bank where I have more access to it? Because that's my biggest concern sometimes with the stock market, right? Is the access to your money, right? Because as soon as you pull it out, you're getting taxed on that, right?
Well, yeah. So there's capital gains tax. There's long-term capital gains tax. And for anyone making $100,000 or less, you're only taxed 10% of your profit. People don't understand. If you're making, millions of dollars in stock market, then you're taxed at 30% and a higher level. But so let's say you made $100K in profit. You only pay $10K to the IRS. Now, if you don't trade, you're making $0 and you're getting zero. So what's better?
You're losing money. Yeah,
what's better, 90,000 or zero?
Yeah.
So like that's what I tell people. They're like, oh, I don't want to pay the taxes on it. Well, if you don't trade, you're gonna get zero. Yeah, your money might be sitting in a bank account, but this is what I always tell people. Let's say you have $2,000 in a bank account, right? That money can only go down. It can only go down. You can't make it grow. It's in a bank account. You're gonna spend it. It can only go down. So that 2,000 really is zero. People don't get it because you're gonna spend it, and even if you get something out of it, you might get something of value out of it, right? And that's fine. You might need something in that moment. You might need a trip. You might need some clothes. You might need whatever you need. But if you invest it and 2 years later it's 10,000, you can get all of that stuff times 5. people don't realize just by having the discipline to wait a couple of years or wait 3 years or wait, you don't even have to wait that long. It's just about,
Do you think, going off of that, right? Because I think the biggest excitement for someone thinking about getting involved in the stock market is not having to work like a normal job, right?
yeah,
And like, I mean, that seems exciting to me where it's like, yo, I can throw some of this money that I have into the stock market, see if I can get some short-term gains and I don't even have to work a normal job.
right.
Is that
That's not the philosophy or the mindset that I would tell most people to go into it with, because
okay?
if you look at it like that, you're going to take huge risks off the bat to try to get your freedom right away. But if you look at it as like, this is a investment that I'm doing over a course of a few years, and I'm doing it like I would be like running a business, then you're going to do it the right way, and it's gonna create freedom for you naturally over time, and your money is gonna compound the natural organic way, and you're not going to lose quickly right away. Because if you just try to like, quickly chase to get the quick profit, you're gonna lose. Trust me.
Mhm.
Nobody's that smart to be able to day trade every single day and make huge amounts. Nobody is. Not even computer algorithms. So you have to know like what you're good at. So for me, it's swing trading. So what swing trading is I look for companies that are down in the red for the week or for the month, and I add them on weakness. And then when they go up the next week or the next month, I automatically sell, because that is my system. I know when it rewards me, I'm getting out. I don't care if it keeps going up later. I have a system where I'm setting it, like let's say a stock's at $3. I'll set the price to sell at 4. I don't have to look at it. It's going to sell it off at 4. I already set it. So I'm not, when it does get to 4, I'm not like thinking like, oh, it's going to keep going up. It's going to 5. It's going to
You don't
6.
get greedy. Yeah.
Right. Because
Yeah.
if you do that and you wait too long, it goes back to 3 and you lost all your profit. And now you have to wait who knows long to get it back.
Okay.
You got it.
Yeah, no, 100%. This is awesome stuff, Sam. So, we talked a little bit about stocks in the beginning, and, there's only so much we can talk about with stocks before our brains get a little,
Yeah.
before our brains melt.
Even I was getting a little bit of crazy up in there. So.
No, but you're full of knowledge, and just happy to have you here. I also wanted to, find out a little bit more about you in terms of like, why did you get into chiropractic, health and wellness? What sparked that interest in you?
Yeah. So chiropractic was really something that I found out through my family, through my father. He was actually he had one of his discs slip in his back when he was moving one day, and it was a terrible injury for him. He could barely walk, and he actually went to this chiropractor up in Portland, Oregon, and the man really, the doctor really really helped him. And this doctor was a really really special guy, and I would actually go in there and talk to him, and he told me about Life West. And at the time, I really didn't have a direction of like what I was wanted to do with my life. I was kind of caught in limbo. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't really have like a business idea or anything yet. Um, and then when I learned about chiropractic and how it can help people, help their bodies, heal and recover, but you also get the aspect of being an entrepreneur and running your own business. That's what really like excited me about it. And then when I toured Life West and I learned about everything the school had to offer, it was really a no brainer for me. So yeah, that's why I chose to go Life West and learn about become a chiropractor.
That's awesome, man. Love
Yeah.
to hear that your dad was helped through chiropractic.
Hmm.
Um, for those who don't know, I grew up with chiropractic, and I now that I'm 26 and I'm starting to feel a little bit of aches and pains here and there, I'm like, I can't imagine my life without chiropractic. And it's cool when I talk to people who discovered chiropractic because it's different growing up with it. Um, it's you don't know what you don't have kind of thing. It's like when you're born into it, it's like you don't realize how good you have it kind of thing. But it's really interesting, and I love hearing people's perspective on how they discovered it, because I think it bridges the gap for those who maybe write off chiropractic or they judge it and they think it's like woo woo or
Right. It's just
magic or
cracking.
yeah, it's just cracking backs and
Yeah.
like mobilizing joints and things like that.
No, it's so much more than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know where we want to go with that, but
I could talk more like just about,
Your experience with
yeah.
chiropractic, yeah.
I mean, chiropractic, when I first learned about it, I didn't understand what exactly it was. I thought it was just adjusting and cracking and then you just feel better, right? But it's not. There's so much more than that. It opens up our nervous system, right? And because when we have a block in our spine and our neurons can't move the right way and it's being blocked and intercepted, we're not able to live our best life. We're not able to feel the way that our body's, designed for us to feel. So chiropractic really helps to remove that interference, right, in our nervous system. And I never understood what that meant until I went to chiropractic school and I learned about, the early, the D.D. Palmer, the B.J. Palmer, everything in that realm. And then it all started to make more sense to me, learning about, how the upper cervical area can deal with migraines. And if you remove that, people's migraines can go away. Like I never knew that the top vertebra were, relating to people having migraines and things like this. So it's just, there's so much about chiropractic that's amazing and beautiful. And, I'm excited to become a doctor of chiropractic one day and, be able to provide that for people, so I mean, I recommend, people to get adjusted, but also maybe like learn about becoming a chiropractor because it is a really amazing profession.
100%,
Yeah.
especially for those who are interested in entrepreneurship, like you said.
Mhm.
That's what kind of sparked my interest too with chiropractic, aside from all the health benefits, of course, right? And feeling just the best that we possibly can and functioning at our highest potential. Chiropractic allows people to run their own business and have that personal freedom, which is something that you don't necessarily get with every profession. So that's one huge plus with chiropractic, and you kind of get to do it however you want to do it, right? It's
Yeah.
like that's the cool thing is when I talk to other students and people in our program, it's like, wow, like this person's more light touch approach, more, soft tissue work here and there, whatever. This person's like, no, they're going to do it this way, specifically adjusting only these two vertebrae in the neck. And you're like, whoa, okay. There's so many different layers and levels to chiropractic, which is something that I discovered coming to school. And you get to kind of do it however you want to do it. At the end of the day, we're all still helping people.
Mhm.
And that's what it comes down to is really lifting that awareness and lifting society to, you know, transition people from this
Mhm.
forward head posture and slumping and
Right. Yeah.
feeling anxious and
Mhm.
just depressed and stressed all the time to boom,
Right.
we're bringing them back to life, and that's exponential for society, and that's what
Yeah.
excites me and lifts me up is like just, surrounding myself with more people who understand that chiropractic is not just a therapy,
Mhm.
right? It's
Mhm.
not just to relieve back pain,
Mm.
or when you go and you have a car accident,
Yeah.
you go and see the chiropractor or whatever.
Right.
It's like, no, see the chiropractor
Mm.
as preventative means,
Right.
and you'll save yourself not only money, but you'll save yourself so much stress in the long term and
Right.
potentially prevent yourself from getting things like rods and
Mm.
whatever surgeries are out there nowadays that,
Mhm.
essentially just fuse people's spines and say,
Right.
all right, you're good to go.
Right.
So,
That's important, right? To have those to be preventative in your health, right? Because so many people, if you wake up with a sharp pain in your neck and you can't look to the right, doesn't that affect your whole life and the way that you go about your day? And then you also like you're not yourself when you have a pain like that,
no,
right?
you're constantly thinking about that pain,
Right. And
and
then
it's a signal too.
right.
Something's
And
going
then
on.
you're probably not going to treat people the best because you're in pain, right? So your relationships with people, you might get angry. You might, we see this happen all the time, right? People that are in pain,
Mhm.
they're not able to communicate the right way. They're not able to be their natural self, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if we can take away that pain or take away somebody's low back pain, help them recover and heal, they're gonna become an overall happier and better person, right? So that's why I love chiropractic is like we have the opportunity to like to help somebody heal so that not only their pain goes away in their body, but their pain, in their mind can go away too, so they can open up and, to their family and friends and everything like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think about that all the time when I'm driving, right?
Mm.
It's like you're driving down the road and someone like cuts you off, or like they won't even let you in. Like you're blinkering over and you're like,
Yeah.
yo, just let me
It
in.
happens
Like,
in Hayward a lot,
dude,
where we
like I was
live.
on the freeway the other day and I'm just trying to like blinker over. I'm being real
California.
gentle, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, all right. And then this girl floors it, doesn't let me
Mm.
in, is willing to almost crash and rear end me
Yeah.
in order
It's
to not let
California.
me in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just
The
like,
pride thing here.
yeah. And I drive past her and then she flips me off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like that girl must have been so stressed.
Yeah, she is.
Something's going on in
Absolutely.
her life that made her act this way. It wasn't her in her highest self acting this way. It was her stress, whatever was going on with her day, who knows.
Right.
But chiropractic, it really does neurologically change you, physiologically changes you, and that's where it's like it's deeper than just cracking someone's back. It's like if you're changing someone's physiology by putting in an impulse in someone and helping them maintain a more proper posture for themselves, they're going to see the world in a completely different pair of eyes, you know what I'm saying? So like who knows, maybe they would let you in and they wouldn't just like force their way in or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So like that's a good point what you just made. It's like we don't know what that girl was going through in that moment. We don't know, the pain that she might be having mentally or physically or emotionally, whatever. So it's always good to, give people, have patience with people, right? Because, not everybody is, practicing preventative health measures to take care of themselves. And maybe because they don't know how, like they've never been taught. Maybe they were raised in a family where everybody was just, eating unhealthy, not exercising, smoking, not taking care of their body or their mind spiritually, right? Not everybody was raised in a family where that was taught. So as a chiropractor, sometimes you have to be that person to where you're kind of like the bridge for somebody, and not necessarily in like a, you got to do this, because no one's ever going to listen to somebody that is directing them to do something.
No.
The best way to motivate somebody is to simply, place the idea in their head, explain the benefits to them, but then explain to them the choice is all yours if you want that or not. That is the best way to motivate people, and it's been scientifically proven through many research and data trials. Like telling people do this, do that, they're gonna want to do the opposite, and that's goes along with many things in life, parenting, many things.
100%, yeah. Would you say you were raised pretty healthy or holistically health conscious?
Absolutely, yeah. So my dad was a doctor. He's an anesthesiologist. We were raised, pretty healthy. We would eat, healthy food. We would exercise as a family. We had a gym membership. We were taught, to live, healthy, modest life. No overeat, gluttony was a thing. You don't want to be like that. We had these. My family was very like health conscious. So yeah, I was. But also, like, I know a lot of people, they weren't raised like that. So I'm aware of that, so.
Interesting. Yeah. And how does your dad feel about like anesthesiology or being an anesthesiologist, like, and you getting into chiropractic, which is like two different sides of the coin, right?
Yeah. So actually, he was thinking about becoming a chiropractor before he,
No way.
became an anesthesiologist. He actually told me like a few years ago about that story. I didn't even know. And so he always loved chiropractic. He never had that bias that some medical doctors had.
Has he ever talked to you about like where that comes from, he thinks, or like
he's just an open-minded person. He's never been a type of person that's always that would be like, this is bad 100%. Like he always sees
the field. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he taught me to be like that too.
It's a good quality to have.
Yeah. So, obviously, like, I don't think people should just be prescribed pills to take care of everything, any ailment. That's not the right thing to do. but also there might be someone that does need to take pills, that does need medicine, that does need pharmaceuticals, because their brain chemistry has gotten so rewired that that is, the option that is the right thing for them, with exercise, with all the eating healthy, with all the other things that come along with it, right?
Yeah, like do everything that you can in preventative means, right? You
Right.
still got to live your life. No one's perfect. Like it's okay to indulge once in a while. It's
Right.
okay, we're all human at the end of the day. But drugs and surgery, from my perspective, have always been like last result type of thing.
Absolutely.
You don't want to have to take all these pills, nor should you have to. Your body has its own basically pharmaceutical company inside of
It does,
itself,
yeah.
right? It's a healing mechanism.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. But also, like, there might be people, somebody that has, like, say, schizophrenia,
Sure.
and they
Yeah.
need a pill, they need a pharmaceutical to help them with that, right? That's the kind of case where I see, like, okay, yeah, the medical industry, like, they are doing good, as well as there is bad involved. They are
Totally.
jacking up the prices of pharmaceuticals that shouldn't be this high, doing horrible things, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. You should never like take the opportunity away from someone to have that medical surgery or that drug that helps them. And but in reality, it's like it's a small percentage, right, of the
Yeah.
population really has that.
Right.
Like, I mean, I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but I know that it's like if we were to, as a society, take care of ourselves in preventative means, it would probably fix like 90% of our problems, right? Or
Absolutely.
maybe even more.
I agree with that.
I'm just speculating here, but
No, I agree with
you
that.
know?
Like, I think if people just exercised and had access to healthy food, they would, like, more than 50% of their problems would go away, because exercise really is the best medicine in the world. I think it's a fact.
Yeah, we gotta move.
You have to move. Your spine has to get that movement to flush out all the toxins that accumulate, and your brain needs to flush out all those toxins, and that comes out when we sweat. And people they know this, but they don't want to physically go do it because it takes effort, right?
Yeah, and they don't necessarily. It's easy to put off that day-to-day work, right?
Yeah.
But then 10 years later, you're like,
Yeah.
oh man, why I'm in so much pain.
Yeah.
And it comes from a lack of education too in this country, where it's like,
Right.
if you're sitting, which a lot of us nowadays are sitting so often, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes 9 hours plus a day.
Yeah.
Over time, that lack of movement, your spine's going to start to want to just, all right, let's
Exactly.
just fuse every vertebra
Yeah.
in your body and just,
Mhm.
let's start creating more of that sclerosis. Like that's your body's ability to adapt
Yeah.
to the stress and the gravity that's pushing you down and compressing your spine like this.
Right.
So what does movement do? It's going to
Mhm.
segmentally and globally allow that flexibility, and then nutrients imbibition,
Imbibition.
not inhibition, imbibition, right?
It's a good term for people to look up. Imbibition.
Imbibition, yeah.
Yeah.
Look that up.
That's a good one. Just the process of our body getting the fluid out and then replacing it with fresh fluid. So
Exactly. It's
we
like
need that.
our body is like a recycling mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you got to recycle the bad, and you got to recycle in new nutrients, new fluids.
Absolutely.
And that only happens through movement.
Mhm.
Never in history have we ever sat so much in our lives.
No, we were always hunters, gatherers, moving, doing things, and we never had all this processed food. We never had all this processed food available to us 24/7, right?
That's a big one.
We never had sodas with syrups and all these chemicals. We never, like, our ancestors never had this stuff.
No.
Their dessert was fruits and whatever, like honey from the, like, I don't know.
Dude, I was
Like-
thinking about that the other day. No, seriously, because the show Alone? Have you seen that on like so it's like this basically like ultimate survivalist show where they have 10 people and they throw them out in the wilderness, and it's like who can survive the longest, and they
okay.
have 10 items on them.
Okay.
When you watch these guys who are very experienced, like they could survive for 100+ days, no
Mhm.
problem. You're like, this is insane. And what are they eating? They're eating meat when they catch like a
Yeah.
deer,
Right.
or they're eating fish
Yeah.
if they're fishing. And what else? Shrubs, roots,
I mean,
berries.
yeah. Who were the healthiest people of all time? The Native Americans, right? What were they eating? Salmon,
Hmm.
elk, deer,
Yeah.
like fruits and vegetables. Like, these are things like that are like, these are things that are proven to keep you healthy. But people, it's hard. People don't want to to do these things because they don't taste as
It
good.
takes time to
Takes
cook, right?
yeah,
And
it takes time. It's a little bit more expensive, and it's easier just to grab a bag of chips and eat Doritos than it is to grab a bag of carrots. You know,
and so
tastes better.
yeah, exactly. And
Sucks, but
what do you do to not? What do you do to not like dive into those cravings?
So, well, everything's in moderation, right? Do I
Okay.
not eat Doritos? No, I love Doritos,
Mhm.
but I don't eat them every day.
No.
You know, maybe I'll have a bag of a Dorito, small bag, once every 2 weeks to get
Mhm.
that craving out, right? Maybe with a nice healthy sandwich or something, right? So you can there are ways to where you can still eat the things that you want to eat as long as you're exercising and you're using moderation. You know, there's no problem with eating like a bad thing every now and then. You know, your body's gonna flush it out if you exercise.
Mhm.
So if you can not do it at all, that's better. That's perfect. But most people, they're gonna have that craving, right? Like most people are human beings. They're gonna want to have a little ice cream at night every once in a while.
Especially after like a long day of like
Yeah.
work or stress, like the
Exactly.
easiest thing to do is to
Yeah.
crack open a tub of ice cream and
Right.
snack on some chips, right?
Sure, but in moderation, right?
Mhm.
Like if you do that, let's say you put a little glass of ice cream
Hmm.
at night after a long day of chiropractic school.
Mhm.
You eat a little bit of ice cream. That's actually healthy for your brain, for your reward center, for your dopamine, because you're releasing dopamine and you're getting that reward after a stressful long day of, say, tests and school and adjusting classes, right?
Versus if you don't and you're just depriving yourself of
Okay.
all happiness and all
Right.
fun.
Let's say you don't and you just go to sleep and then you wake up and your brain is still like, where's my dopamine? Like, where's
You didn't
my
give me any
you
reward.
didn't give me nothing.
Yeah.
And like, I need something. I'm like, your brain isn't just some like disciplined robot that
No.
can just follow the rules of everything.
No.
Like, we need to give ourselves a break at times, right? But like I said, it's all about moderation.
Totally.
Like if you just eat ice cream every single meal,
Hmm.
yeah, you're gonna get fat and you're gonna die.
No,
Right?
100%. Yeah, that made me think about that's a really good point you brought up, because recently I did a 31-day experiment where I tracked my time by the hour, believe it or not. And it sounds crazy, but I got the idea from a really successful entrepreneur, Rob Dyrdek, if you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what he does. He tracks his time
Mhm.
by the hour,
Mhm.
every hour. Now, he has a software, and I'm sure he has an assistant that helps him with that process, because
Mhm.
he's focused on other things. But what it made me realize is like you can only be so disciplined and like so on top of your stuff to the point where it's like, all right, you need to relax a bit. You need to just like, you're not being human if you're trying to be this perfect image, right?
Right.
You have to give yourself a little bit of that leniency to like indulge a little bit. Just don't
do.
make it a habit, like you're saying.
No. Yeah, no, and if you give yourself moments to indulge, it's actually going to motivate you to keep doing the right things later on, because you're not going to keep craving that if you're not going to keep craving that thing. You're going to you're going to feel like, "Oh, I got it last night. It's okay." In a couple nights when I'm stressed, I'll get another bowl of ice cream to calm myself down, right? Like if you tell yourself I'm never going to have ice cream again, it's not gonna work like that.
No.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying, and I've been there where I'm like, nope, no smoking, no drinking,
Yeah.
no sugar.
Yeah.
I'm just
me
going to
too.
deprive myself of pretty much
Yeah.
all
Does it work?
happiness. No.
No.
At a certain point in time, like you literally break down and you're like, what is my life?
Right.
You have to give yourself, like you said, some bit of reward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. It's important. It's like, it's not a bad thing either. Like, but just every once in a while, not every second of the day.
Totally. Oh man, this is all good stuff.
Yeah,
I love
this
how
is
we
great.
just segued into health.
Yeah.
That's why I love podcasting,
Yeah,
man.
that's
You just
awesome.
never know where the conversation's gonna go.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any links that you want to like maybe drop, or is there anything you're working on, or maybe even just little bits of advice, books you're reading, anything that comes to mind that you
Yeah, I mean, this book right here comes to mind, The Complete Guide to Trading Psychology by Steve Burns and Holly Burns. This is a great book. Like if you're just learning like about investing and like trading and how to have the right mindset for it, this is a great book for that. Also, if you're just an entrepreneur and you want to learn about just finding how to find personal freedom, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki is an amazing book that I think every entrepreneur has to read. Um, but I would start with those two, and then work your way up from there. And then I also have like personal consultations that I offer people if they want to learn from me about trading, about anything in general, about what stocks I'm purchasing and buying. I offer those to people as well. So yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been freaking great
Yeah,
sitting
bro.
down with you and chatting,
Hell
Sam.
yeah, it's been
And
fun. I
yeah,
had
no,
a
it's
good
been
time,
fun.
man.
We'll have to do this again sometime, and
Absolutely.
keep learning, keep growing together, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yes.